What is going on, everybody? We are back with day three of training camp. I'm here, your host, Rohan Chakravarthi, and I'm here to break it down. The 49ers had a light day today, their third day, as I said, of training camp. Practice Wednesday. That was a closed practice Thursday. I was there yesterday, a bit more of an energetic practice. And then today, a lighter day. You didn't really have that many players participate. It was a bit of a different look overall at practice today. But still, there's a good amount to get through. Let's get talking and let's figure out or break down a little bit of what happened here on day three of 49ers training camp. I think where we've got to start is probably the biggest takeaway of the day, and that was rest. The 49ers rested a lot of their top players on Friday. After everybody, one of my biggest takeaways of yesterday was how many players actually performed or how many players were active. You talk about the top players on the team on both offense and defense. Offensively, Christian McCaffrey was there, George Kittle was there, Debo Samuel was there. Everybody who was expected to play was essentially there. The only two guys that were missing were Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk. Trent Williams obviously holding out because of a contract situation, Brandon Ayuk holding in due to the contract situation. Everybody else on both sides was there. However, it was a little bit different, on Friday. Christian McCaffrey, rest day. George Kittle, he was out. When you talk about some of the other guys on the offensive line, Jake Brendel did not play. Spencer Burford did not play. John Feliciano did not play. And so you're missing a good core of players. Jacob Cowling, the receiver, maybe he tweaked something, or I'm not exactly sure as to the reason. He was not there. At George Kittle, if I didn't mention him, he was not there. And so, you have a lot of players on offense that were not just weren't present for the 49ers. Defensively, Nick Bosa did not play. Charvarius Ward did not play. Those were the two main ones. You still have the injury to Demetrius Flanagan-Fouts. He was out. And then, there were certain guys who maybe didn't see as many reps during team drills that were on the veteran side as well. And so a couple of guys, definitely did not suit up for the 49ers. Initially, when looking at the guys who were there and who were not there, you could tell this was going to be a bit of a different day for the 49ers. I think that's kind of that was kind of the outlook, when you don't have necessarily its top players, the energy's a little different, the vibe's a little different, and things like that. And so they did not play, and so it's a bit of a different outlook, like I said, for the 49ers today. And with those guys resting, who kind of stepped up in their position? Let's talk first at the offensive line, because like I said, no Jake Brendel, no John Feliciano, no Spencer Burford. Three of your top interior guys were not playing. And so you have a hole at center, you have a hole at right guard. Feliciano had been, the backup right guard. He had also been competing with first team reps at center. And so there's a key portion of your reps that are now missing. Instead, Nick Zakelj, who had kind of been the third string guy who would actually play more of guard, got all of the first team reps at center today in a bit of a surprising move. And then Dominic Puny, the third round rookie the 49ers drafted this year, he had seen time exclusively only at right guard so far, but he'd only been with the second and third team. He got all of the first team reps at right guard. Both players also got time with the second team. It was a day where a lot of reps were to be had for those younger players. And so Zakelj, he was the first team center. Dominic Puny was the first team right guard. One other guy who didn't play, who has seen time at center, was Ben Bartch. He was there but did not participate in team drills. It was instead Zakelj who was going all the way. And then Drake Nugent, the undrafted free agent at center, he was the guy who kind of backed him up. And so, when you're talking about the offensive line, obviously a lot different of a look. You already don't have Trent Williams. Jalen Moore's in at left tackle. Aaron Banks. It was Nick Zakelj, Dominic Puny, and then Colton McKivitz. Then, with the backups, you have Drake Nugent in there at right guard. Dominic Puny played. You had Jarrett Kingston in there a little bit. You had a couple of different mixes. But as you can tell, with this offensive line, there was bound to be a couple of mistakes and also more of a defensive line dominated day. There's already no pads. The defensive line was out of favor, but you had the defensive line who won the day, and also just the defense overall won the day for the 49ers. Going on from the offensive line, let's first talk about the day as a whole. How did day three look? When you talk about the vibe of the day, like I said, it was off initially, just lower energy and things like that. But the offense looked really shaky on day three. All three quarterbacks had their moments, but also had their struggles. Brock Purdy, one of his first passes of the day was a ball intended for Debo Samuel near the sidelines. It was in the intermediate range. It was broken up. It was a little high for Debo Samuel. Isaac Yiadom was in coverage. He was able to make a play on the ball, broke the pass up, an incompletion there, and targeted for Debo Samuel. A little later on the next series of plays for Brock Purdy, he once again looked Samuel's way on a corner post. This one was a bit deeper, and this ball was overthrown, just a little overthrown. Jair Brown was there in coverage as the safety, as the overlooking safety. He was able to make a play on the ball, corralled the ball in, intercepted the pass, kept 2 feet in bounds. A good play by Jair Brown, but an overthrow for Brock Purdy that led to an interception. After that, Purdy later on in the second session of team drills, the pocket was collapsing on this play, probably would have been a sack, but on the pass attempt was looking for Ronnie Bell, had a pretty good overthrow. Isaac Yiadom was once again in coverage. A couple of overthrown passes for Brock Purdy. If you remember last year in training camp, similar thing as Brock Purdy was kind of getting back into the stretch of things, had passes where he was overthrowing them a little bit, trying to get that rhythm and that touch back on that deep pass that, was very successful for the 49ers and for Brock Purdy last year. So a bit of a down day there. Purdy did have a good pass, one of the better passes of the day, which was a completion to Debo Samuel. It was on a crosser, Ambry Thomas in coverage. Samuel was able to get good yards after the catch on the play, a pretty solid ball and a pretty solid catch. But like I said, a bit of a shakier day on day three for Brock Purdy. Then when you look elsewhere, Brandon Allen, the number 2, a lot more shorter passes today. Allen was pretty consistent, on day 2, not as consistent on day 3. A couple of dump offs. Pressure was definitely there, so a couple of sacks, on the quarterback, but still, the play goes on. He had a couple of passes that were dumped off. Allen also had an overthrow deep. He was looking for Malik Turner. Turner, I believe, was coming on a crosser or coming on a corner post, one of the two, going towards the left sideline. He had broken away. Good speed on the play. He had broken away. He was going to be open had Allen converted the pass. The ball, though, was a little over Malik Turner, ends up going incomplete on a pretty deep ball that would have been, a pretty good gain. An incompletion there. Josh Dobbs, he's been battling for that, that position as well. That quarterback too. It's been between Allen and Dobbs. They've both split the second and third team reps. Had a really rough day on day 2. Not really much, that kind of went his way. Day 3 had a good stretch and a bad stretch. Again, shorter passes for the most part. Had a stretch where he completed a couple of passes in a row. Hit Braden Willis on an out route. Hit Juwan Jennings on an out route. Hit Malik Turner on a slant. There were a couple of passes where Dobbs was able to get some consistency, but he ended the day on a rough note. Had an incompletion to Cody Schrader in the flat. Essentially was just going to his check down, threw a pass to an open running back in the flat, just wide, ended up being an incompletion. Then on the next play, was looking to make a play, and the ball was batted at the line of scrimmage by rookie defensive tackle Shaquille Brown. So not the best end of the day, but really not just the best day overall for the offense. The run game couldn't really materialize much. Jordan Mason had a few good runs, but apart from that, didn't see too much from the run game. The defense was in the backfield more often than not, which you'd expect with the way that the offensive line group was overall. Again, tough to take away too much. There's not pads, so the defense is inherently at an advantage, but I'd say this was a defensive-dominated day overall for the 49ers. Looking at some of the other potential changes, like I mentioned, a couple of players not playing. And so we got to go to the tight end group. I talked about the offensive line. The tight end group, though, also had a couple of changes. George Kittle, he didn't suit up. He had taken the number 1 reps when he was playing on Thursday, did not suit up on Friday, and that led to more of a rotation at tight end. Guys like Eric Sober, he was the one who got the first crack. Right now, it seems like he's the number 2. behind George Kittle. It seems at least the 49ers are more confident in him, the veteran, than some of the younger guys and some of the other guys on the roster. So Bear got got the option to get the start technically, with the tight end group, and so he was there. But there was more players who kind of got into the mold or into the fold with the top offense. I saw both Cameron Latu and Braden Willis get opportunities with the with the number one offense, and that's a good sign. You want these guys to compete. You want to see what these guys can do when given the top opportunities, and so the best way to do it is, on off days like these, try and get reps with the number one offense. And so Braden Willis, Cam Latu, they both got those opportunities, which was a good look. Now, again, shaky offensive day. There wasn't really much chance for passes to the tight ends. Braden Willis, I believe, I charted him with 2 catches, but shorter balls, out routes, and things like that. So, again, hard to take away too much from the day, but I think it's important to note that they're now getting some of those opportunities with the ones with George Kittle out. Then they usually don't, because with Kittle there, he occupies the ones, and they're the veterans and things like that. That's something to note. Logan Thomas, a guy who a lot of people are kind of thinking about as the potential tight end 2 for this team, still kind of in the back of the fold. He practiced primarily with the 2s and the 3s. He hasn't really seen as many reps. He's still, this was only his second practice with the team or third practice with the team. He's still amping it back up, but he did get a catch. He got a catch now in consecutive days. But again, we got to wait and see really with Logan Thomas. I think the team knows what he can do. They're waiting to see what can the rest of the team do. But at the moment, he seems like on the out looking in the tight end room. Going over the other side of the ball, or actually, no, before we do that, I want to talk about the running backs, because there was a little bit with the running backs today. No Christian McCaffrey. That meant that there were more opportunities for the other guys. Elijah Mitchell, Jordan Mason split the top reps. And then behind them, Patrick Taylor was there. He got the 3 reps pretty much yesterday. He got some of the 2s, the 3 reps. And then Cody Schrader, for the first time, really, I saw he got incorporated in the team drills as well. With Mitchell and Mason got another pass, out of the backfield, just a dump off, a check down from Brandon Allen. Probably would have been a sack on the play, but they're trying to target Mason a little bit as well in the passing game. He's caught all of his passes so far. And remember, Mason has not seen the field that much so far in his NFL career. A lot of people point that out to his ability on passing downs. Can he be a solid pass protector? Can he be a guy who can catch the ball, and make a move out of the backfield as a receiver? So far, I haven't seen too much of the pass protecting. You won't really see too much of that until pads come on, be it in drills, individual or team. But as a pass catcher, he's gotten 3 opportunities so far, in team drills, and he's caught the ball. He's made plays, as a receiver, which is something to note at least. Mason also had a couple of good runs early. He had a run up the right side that I thought was a solid run, followed that up with a run up the left side, but there wasn't too much to be had in the run game today, just with the way the defense was playing compared to the way the offense was playing. So not that many opportunities. One of the bigger plays, though, of the day, Elijah Mitchell. He was obviously working in with the ones. Caught a pass from Brock Purdy and fumbled the football. Fred Warner was the one who jarred the ball loose. Isaac Yadam had the recovery. An unfortunate play for Mitchell. The reason I point this out, Mitchell has been one of the more sure-handed players on the team. He's the guy who the 49ers have always trusted because of his consistency. He doesn't turn the ball over, but had a fumble here today. And so we'll see what the trend ultimately is, how that goes. Does it affect the running back rotation at all? Is there a competition or not here and there? But thought Mason had a solid day again, and Mitchell had a fumble. And so that's something, you got to definitely keep an eye out for going forward. Talking about Patrick Taylor, Cody Schrader. Taylor's gotten some of the 3 reps, just the norm, but Cody Schrader did get some opportunity. He caught a pass out of the backfield, another check down type pass from Brandon Allen, not much to get, and then had another opportunity, another target from Josh Dobbs. He was open in the flat for a check down. Dobbs threw an errant pass. It was wide, should have been completed. Instead, was an incompletion. Schrader did get a couple of running opportunities. I know one of them was just blown up by the defense. Come on, Hall, a third string cornerback, he was able to get back there, make a nice play, tackle for loss that probably would have lost like 3-4 yards. But again, running game right now, not too much that you can truly judge just because of the nature of football without pads, and also given the fact that the offensive line was not out there for the 49ers. For the backups, it's kind of hard to judge, right? Because you have the third string or second string offensive line, which with this team clearly will not be better than the defensive line. And so it's hard for the running backs to kind of make a dent. But Cody Schrader did get opportunity today, didn't really see much yesterday. And so that was something I wanted to note as well. Moving over to the defensive side of the ball, I want to talk about the cornerbacks because one more, player that did not play was Charvarius Ward. Charvarius Ward sat out. We've seen this a couple of times where, just rest purposes, getting to sit out, healing that groin, came back from core muscle surgery this offseason like George Kittle. And so he sat out today. And so with Charvarius Ward out, Deommodore Lenoir, he obviously took over one of the outside spots, but Isaac Yiadom took over the second outside spot in the base package. And the Niners experimented a bit at cornerback today. When it came to the nickel package, so far what we've seen is Ward on the outside. They kick Lenoir in, and then Isaac Yiadom is that second corner on the outside. Today, though, in the nickel package, Lenoir stayed on the inside for one of them. He got kicked in, and then they had Ambry Thomas on the outside. So it was Ambry Thomas and Isaac Yiadom on the outside, Lenoir on the inside. But they showed a couple of different packages. They had Lenoir actually on the outside for one of the packages. It was Deommodore Lenoir, and it was Isaac Yiadom on the outside. And then they brought in second-round rookie Renardo Green. Renardo Green got some opportunity with the top defense for the first time that I've seen, and he got time in the nickel. Green has primarily played in the nickel so far. Haven't really seen too many reps on the outside. He's played in the nickel, but mostly with the second team just because Lenoir has played in the nickel with the first team for the majority of the time. But with no Ward today, with the 49ers moving some pieces around at cornerback, Renardo Green got his first shot in the nickel with the first team defense. For the backups at corner, it's kind of been fairly straightforward. They've rotated in a couple of different groups, so you've seen a couple of different looks. But Ambry Thomas has primarily played with the second team, saw reps with the first and the second team today. Green has been the second team slot. You've seen guys like Darrell Luter and Samuel Womack also, on the outside. It's Thomas, Womack, and Luter as the top outside guys, and then on the inside, it's been Chase Lucas and Renardo Green. Green primarily with the second team, Lucas with the third team in the nickel. And so those are the different packages that the 49ers are kind of throwing out right now at corner. But I thought it was intriguing to see Renardo Green getting some, first team opportunities. And will those continue even when Charvarius Ward is back? Are the Niners going to experiment a little more and have Green, get some first team run alongside Ward and Lenoir? Or will it primarily be the look that they've shown so far, which is Isaac Yiadom on the outside and Lenoir on the inside? We'll see. Yiadom has also had a good camp, definitely no hit against him. But I'm curious to see, do the 49ers change some things up at cornerback? Do they allow for more opportunity for a guy like Renardo Green, given the investment that they made in him this offseason? That's it for the cornerbacks. Want to talk a little bit about the safeties, though, the other part of the defensive back room, because the safeties have had a good start to training camp. You remember on Wednesday, you see a lot of reports. Malik Mustafa, the fourth-round rookie, he had an interception, I believe, against Brandon Allen. That was his big play of training camp. That was, a good start to him and showcasing his ball making or his playmaking skills. A lot of people talking about him, as just a tank, a guy who could be a mini linebacker. He's only 200 pounds, 210 pounds, but the way that he's built, he's physically imposing. Makes sense how he can go around, he can hit people, he can play the run game and near the line of scrimmage. But Mustafa's also making plays on the ball, and I think that that's important. Had a pass breakup as well on Thursday that I saw. It was a pass against Brandon Allen, a crossbody throw, not really a great decision, but Mustafa jumped the ball, and he was able to make a play on the ball, force an incompletion, get a PBU there. Today, though, it was Jair Brown's day. Jair Brown had a nice interception today off of Brock Purdy. Purdy obviously was targeting Deebo Samuel. Mentioned this earlier. Was targeting Deebo Samuel, slightly overthrew the ball. Brown obviously raced to the play, was in good position, made the interception, near the sideline. It was an intermediate deep ball type of beat, and he was able to intercept the pass, keep both feet in bounds. A good play for Jair Brown, one of the bigger highlights of the day, especially on the defensive side. And so, this is a good start for Jair Brown. That's something that I will say. This is a good start. If Jair Brown can kind of continue this, it'll be nice to see him as the back end safety. That's the role that he's kind of playing right now, with him and George Odom out there. He's going to play alongside Talanoa Hufanga. A lot of people are questioning the fit, and a lot of people are questioning the safety room a bit just because of the unproven nature of guys like Brown and Malik Mustafa. But this is a really good start. I'm curious to see how it goes from here. Safeties, though, I'm impressed to start training camp so far, and I don't think there's too much of a worry because you do know you're getting Talanoa Hufanga back, who plays near the box at a very, very high level. Talked about a lot of the position groups. That's kind of the main ones that I wanted to take away. Last one I'll probably mention for today before getting into questions is the defensive line. Defensive line did not have Nick Bosa today, so you saw Leonard Floyd and Yetur Gross-Matos on the interior. On the edge. On the interior, it was a mix. I don't believe Malik Collins played. Wasn't looking too much at the interior defensive line today. Was looking more on the edges, but it was Kevin Givens in there with the number 1 team. Saw Jordan Elliott kind of get some reps as well. Javon Hargrave, I believe, was in there for a little bit. It was either Hargrave or Collins. One of the two were not participating today, and Kevin Givens was in there with the ones primarily. But the defensive line looked good again. I thought Leonard Floyd had a really good day, mixed in with the ones and the twos, and he was able to just, get pressure. He was able to wreak havoc a little bit. When you see a lot of these pressures, Leonard Floyd was definitely involved. But the defensive line overall, another good day, working against the newer look of the offensive line. They were able to kind of get things rolling. That was a good start for the defensive line. And I'm curious to see the different alignments. As I was going through camp today, I was just thinking, how is this defensive line going to look in 2024? Why? Because the 49ers lost a key component to their run game or run defense in Arik Armstead. And I think a lot of people are underselling the loss of Armstead. He was injured. He was definitely injured. I think the Niners definitely had to make a financial move when it came to Armstead, just looking for the future. But with Armstead gone, there's a huge hole in the run defense that the Niners I don't know if they have the personnel to fix. Javon Hargrave's an average run defender or so. So it's going to be a lot of pressure on Malik Collins and on Jordan Elliott when they're on the field to maintain the run defense. Elliott has been one of the better run defenders in the NFL. There's a reason they signed him to that role. But I'm curious to see what the different alignments are going to be. Does Yetur Gross-Matos play a lot more in base package situations because he's better equipped to handle the run than Leonard Floyd? How are they going to handle the rotation aspect of the defensive line? That's something that I'm curious about. I want to give a shout out to someone who's always in the chat, Captain Niner Mess. Thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate you as always. But talking about the defensive line, no Nick Bosa today. So you saw, and also a little bit of a shakeup on the interior. You see Kevin Givens in there. You see Leonard Floyd in there as well. Something I noted again, Robert Beal working with the twos. A better indication that, the Niners think a little highly of him. We'll see if he has a good chance to make the roster. But I'm curious. That's a player I'm going to keep my eye on, especially as pads come on, because the Niners, they seem to think pretty well of Robert Beal, 5th-round pick last year, and they need production on the edge behind Nick Bosa. They're going to need a rotation. They're going to need probably to play at least 4 players. Beal right now seems lined up to be the 4th. He's playing ahead of guys like Austin Bryant. He's playing ahead of the veterans, which means, the Niners probably think a little higher of him than a couple of other, the casual spectator might. And so that's a guy who I'm going to definitely keep my eye on overall. Now I want to get to some of your questions. I asked for questions today, and I wanted to see what you guys are kind of interested in hearing about. And so here I put them all, in a doc. I'm going to just go down question by question and essentially answer them. If you guys have some in the chat, be sure to drop them. I'm always interested in answering all of your guys' questions, but let's get to it. Someone talking about the most improved players from last year. Who is it? Obviously hard to tell so far. It's early. It's hard to tell right now. But when you look at the roster and who's kind of shined out early, like I said, safeties have looked good. Jair Brown looks good. and things like that. I think Jordan Mason looks good early on, although I'd say he's probably been at a similar level so far. It's just he hasn't gotten the opportunity. I think Deebo Samuel looks, a little recharged. I think he had a bounce back year last year after a disappointing 2022 season, but I think Samuel looks in shape. He looks like he's ready to play a good role for the 49ers and what's going to be a crucial year, not only for him, but for the team as well. With him having only 1 year left on his contract after this year, it's going to be a crucial year for Deebo Samuel as he looks to get his next extension. And so I think that there are a couple of players that at least early on have kind of shined in that regard. I also can't go without saying Spencer Burford, not because of what I've seen, just because of what the 49ers think. John Feliciano has been the guy, he was a guy at left guard, or right guard last year who provided a lot of the consistency. And he was a guy who, kind of gave some stability to the lineup at right guard. If the 49ers are right now going with Spencer Burford over John Feliciano, it could mean one of two things. The competition, obviously, at center, but also because Feliciano has improved on the mental side. Back in May, Chris Forster was talking about Spencer Burford having all of this talent, but I kind of think, right now, Spencer Burford, if he's got the mental side as well, it could be a time to mesh it all together. A question from the chat, the O-line lineup today covered a little bit, but essentially, no, there were a lot of players missing. There was no John Feliciano today, no Jake Brendel today, no Spencer Burford today, and Ben Barch did not participate in team drills. And so that led Nick Zakelj to be the first team center for the entire of the day. Shocker a little bit. And then Dominic Puny got all of the first team reps at right guard. So you had Jalen Moore at left tackle, Banks at left guard, Zakelj at center. You had you had Dominic Puny at right guard, and then at right tackle was Colton McKivitz. That was the main lineup. Not the best day for the offensive line, but a little bit of a shakeup, as the Niners are trying to get some of those younger guys some more reps, as well as what seemed like a scheduled rest day for a lot of players. Looking on for the questions, who has had the best connection so far for Brock Purdy among the wide receivers, tight ends, and running backs? Usually that has been Brandon Ayuk, but Brandon Ayuk is not participating so far. So the best connection so far has been Deebo Samuel. The two really clicked on Thursday. Had a couple of passes in a row where both players were starting to kind of gel and get into the groove of things. I think, Deebo Samuel's the one that I've been looking at so far. Like I said, he seems rejuvenated. He seems in shape. He's the guy who I'm keeping my mind on. Could be a big year for both players. Another question I got, how does Purdy look? I mentioned today, shaky today, but he was stellar yesterday. One of the better sessions I've seen from a quarterback in 49ers training camp. He was really on the money yesterday. Shaky today. Didn't have, his top offensive line, didn't have a couple of his weapons with Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle out of the picture today. But I'm not too worried about Brock. I think, as he gets off the training camp jitters, as he kind of gets that touch back, as he continues to practice, should be all right. Had a really good day yesterday. Going forward, I want to talk about one thing, because Tua Tagovailoa, he got a massive extension today, 4 years, $212.4 million or so. And so, he got a pretty big deal overall. And that's a lot of people are talking about, where's Brock Purdy going to fall? ESPN's Bill Barnwell wrote an article recently, mentioned Purdy potentially getting a 5-year, $325 million deal or $65 million a season. Where does Brock Purdy stand for that? Here's my take with the quarterback dilemma. I don't know how many quarterbacks are truly worth that game-changing amount of money, because it just hampers how much else you can do with your roster. Now, Brock Purdy, I've said, is on that fringe of a top 10 quarterback. The only issue is, what choice do the 49ers truly have? Because if you move off of Brock Purdy, potentially via trade, where's the upgrade? Is it going to be a rookie? Potentially. Excuse me. Are you going to go out and get someone? You likely don't have the money to do that. If you don't believe Brock Purdy is worth $65 million and want to move on, you need to have a good replacement for him, because you're giving up a top 10 quarterback talent, or are you going to get one in return, especially when it comes to the 49ers and their evaluation of quarterbacks in the draft? I'm not sure I trust them to get that decision right. And so I don't know if the 49ers truly have a choice other than to pay Brock Purdy. I think you have to pay him just because you don't have a better option and because you want to maintain a level of success. That's the reason that I think, regardless of the cost, that's just the choice the 49ers are going to have to do, which also makes this year even more imperative. I think when you talk about 2024, a lot of people are saying this has to be the year, but there's a lot that goes to it. Brandon Ayuk is going to get paid. Nick Bosa's deal is really going to start kicking in, and Brock Purdy is going to get paid. There's just not going to be enough money for a lot of the top players. And so, some of those top players, the 49ers are going to have to let go. When you look at the 2025 free agents, I think a lot of players are going to be let go. You talk about Talanoa Hufanga, Aaron Banks, Drake Greenlaw, probably one of the two all-pro level corners, with Charvarius Ward and Yauer Lenore. One is going to have to go. The other, the 49ers hopefully extend. There's going to be a lot of free agents next year, which makes this year even more imperative to just, get it done and find a way to get a championship. One of the other questions, best run stopper on the defensive line. Hasn't played in a 49er uniform yet, but it's Jordan Elliott to me. When you look at the numbers, when you look at the tape, Elliott was signed to that 2-year, $10 million deal just to be a run stuffer. Doesn't provide that much, when it comes to the pass rush element, but he's a big body, especially his upper body. He's huge. He definitely, he looks like a DJ Jones type, encapsulates what you need to be a run stuffer, and he's posted great numbers as a run stuffer over the last few years in terms of run stop win rate and things like that. He's the best run stuffer, I think, right now. But again, you're missing out on a guy like Arik Armstead. That's the unfortunate part. The last question that I have so far, best replacement for Trent Williams if he misses time this year. There really is only one guy the 49ers are trying at left tackle, and that's Jalen Moore. I know a lot of people aren't big fans of Jalen Moore, but it seems like the Niners are going to go with the option of having two different tackles, backup tackles this year. Jalen Moore on the left side. Seems like Chris Hubbard on the right side. But they're going to go with two different tackles. So Moore is going to be the direct replacement for Trent Williams. You can take that as you may. I'm not sure how confident I'd be if Trent Williams were to miss time that the 49ers would be in a great position to win games. That's how important he is to this team. The hope is that Trent Williams does not miss time. But I think that is all the questions I've gotten. Broke down the report. For those of you guys that want to go back, talked about the main takeaways at a lot of different positions, defensive line, corners, safeties, tight ends, running backs, offensive line. I talked about a lot of different things in today's breakdown. Again, a bit of a lighter day today. It wasn't the most eventful day, not much of a scrimmage, a bit of a lighter day overall today. And so you can take it as you may. Pads are off. There's a closed practice tomorrow. We'll not have a report on that. But Monday, practices are back. Pads are on. We'll be there. We'll be there to talk about it right after the show on Monday. But I want to thank you all for just tuning in for the support this week. Had a show on Wednesday, had a show yesterday, had a show today. And so there's going to be a good amount, coming up next week. Again, a bit of a rest day for the 49ers, a lighter day. Wasn't really much of an eventful day, but we'll have a lot more next week as well. Stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe. Ask your questions. I'm always here, and I'll see you guys next time.